for people who may not know who you are, could you please introduce yourself and the role you play in the band?
So I'm Izzy and I play lead guitar in the band Conquer Divide.
And to kind of jump right into things, so Conquer Divide formed in around 2013 or so. How has the landscape of promotion and how music is released changed since then? And has it changed your approaches to the promotion of Conquer Divide?
So our first single, so interestingly enough, in 2013, the first single, Eyes Wide Shut, was self-released. And we actually hadn't played any shows with that before. And then we got signed to Artery Recordings. And then, so it was quite an unusual experience. They signed us without having any live experience of a band. They signed us based on the music that we were putting out. But when it comes to, I guess, like the difference between 11 years ago and now, I would say more singles. We're trying to push out more singles than, I guess, full albums. For example, on Slowburn, the amount of singles we've put out, sorry, I have the list right here. We have Atonement, New Heaven, Paralyzed, Welcome to Paradise, The Invisible, and System Failure all released as singles. So that's 6 songs. And the first album was not that many. It was only like 3 or 4. And that's
Yeah.
I think people just like consuming singles instead of entire albums nowadays. Why that is, I don't know. Maybe people have shorter attention spans because of short form video. But it just seems to work better.
Yeah, we've come across that a lot with a lot of people we've talked to, that it's more of a singles game nowadays than full lengths or EPs even.
Yeah, and we still like released the album, so we do still have that, but we had more singles released from the album. We do have the conversation a lot, like, should we do a third album or should we just continue doing singles? But that's not always our decision when you're signed to a record label and have other people's opinions on it. So we'll see what happens.
I will say, as somebody that collects vinyls, I much appreciate full-length albums, or at least EPs that can be put onto vinyl.
So we didn't do vinyl for our first album, and our second album, Slowburn, we released on vinyl. And when we're on tour, we actually sell more vinyls than we do CDs nowadays, which is interesting. Well, but it kind of makes sense. It's cool. People like collecting them,
Yeah, I mean, the vinyl revival has definitely happened.
Exactly. We had too many CDs left over from our last tour, but vinyls are very popular.
Definitely are. So you being a woman in a mostly rock world, male rock world, how has your experience been in a all-female band and just being a woman in general in a mostly male dominant world?
So there's been kind of like 2 sides of the coin. So when Kristen, our other guitarist, decided to put together a female-fronted band, it kind of created a nice little niche for us. And it was definitely done on purpose because we knew that that would be our way in to be different in a sea of all these thousands of different bands competing on the internet. But with that comes, I guess, some negatives because we have had challenges being females, like not being taken seriously. We've had, for example, when we were in between record labels and we were pitching our music to different companies, people would come back and tell us like, oh, we really like your music, but we already have like a female fronted band. And then you look at their roster and you're like, well, you've got all these other male bands. So it's quite a strange experience, but I will say it's definitely got better for us, or at least personally for me, over the years. I feel like because there are more female rock musicians and female metal musicians coming out of like the woodworks, that like people give us a little bit more respect now. And it's like more normal, it's not as I guess super special or weird as it used to be,
Right. Definitely. I can definitely see that there's been a lot more female fronted bands coming out these days.
Yeah,
And
it's
just even
great.
like single artists that are female.
Yeah, and it's interesting because some people actually love the sound of female fronted music as a preference, and then some people just don't like the sound, and that's perfectly okay. But you don't really hear that argument on the other side, like, oh, I don't like men singing. You never really hear that much, but you do hear like, oh, I don't like women voices in rock.
Yeah,
Which, if it's a preference, it's fair enough, everyone's entitled to their own preference.
Right.
But
we've had that conversation here on the podcast before. I much prefer female fronted bands compared to male fronted bands. I don't know, it's just a completely different feel and vibe to me.
Yeah, especially I feel like with female voices being high, and then of course it seems like over the years bands as like metal bands, we've gotten lower and lower low with the tuning. So I feel like the lower the tuning goes, it actually fits a female voice quite nicely because there's so much contrast in like the pitch of the instruments, and then the female vocals just kind of soar through with it, which is nice.
Yeah, and I mean, nowadays there are some bands that have come out that the male fronted voice sounds like a female voice, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's funny how that works, right?
Yeah, exactly. And even some people actually can't tell the difference. When it comes to like screamers, we've had people tell us like, oh, we didn't know that you guys had a female screamer. I just thought it was a guy. Like if they don't see like our photos or anything, which is perfectly fine.
Right.
Yeah, my 13-year-old son didn't realize that because as we're prepping for episodes, I listen to the bands more and more, and I let him know like it's all female. He's like, really? Like, yeah.
Yeah, it does shock people in a nice way. It's almost, I guess it's a compliment to have like a powerful voice.
It's true.
So who are some of your like personal big influences that kind of find their way weaseling into the music that you write?
So I say in the first album, we were heavily inspired by kind of like classic, like metalcore, I guess, like Killswitch Engage, Parkway Drive, August Burns Red. And then we had a few years off between our debut. We released the debut album in 2015, and our second album came out in 2023. So it was a while. So of course we grew as people and we started listening to different music. Interestingly, vocally, we're heavily inspired by pop artists. So it might surprise some people that our vocals we draw inspiration from Taylor Swift and Ariana Grande and Selena Gomez for writing vocal melodies, and even Justin Bieber. But when it comes to the music, it's obviously not that. I would say heavy influences for us in the second album. Kristen's a big fan of Tool, so definitely Tool. And then kind of a melting pot of like Bring Me the Horizon, Architects, all that kind of modern rock that's coming out. I guess we kind of went away from the classic metalcore vibes in the second album, but it's kind of hard because I have my influences, and then Kristen has her influences, Kia has her, everyone has it. It's like a big melting pot, like I said. Kia's really into more, I guess, like pop and pop punk bands, and yeah, it's a melting pot, which is good. We've got like all bases covered when it comes to influences.
Right. I mean, you can pull from everything, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And have you had any like unexpected elements sneak into the music? Like maybe like some type of synth you weren't expecting, but someone had the idea and was like, why don't we try this? Or have you had anything like really?
So in the song Welcome to Paradise, when we were writing the music, we were at my other guitarist Kristen's house with our producer John Eberhard, and there was actually construction going on outside. They were like breaking up the seawall or something, and she went and recorded it with her iPhone, and then that got put in. as a sample. It got sampled. It was like this drilling sound.
Nice.
So that we have, and then we just put in silly things. So I don't know if you've ever like seen the video or the viral video of like the turtle having sex. We put that in Wide Awake. If you don't know the reference, that sounds really weird right now, but it's like a sound effect. It's a turtle having sex. We put that in our song Wide Awake just for giggles. We just like pitched it down.
It's kind of like a little Easter egg, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was just us being silly. And it's, it's great that we have people in the studio where we can like come up with silly ideas and then just make it happen just as a joke. But yeah.
Yeah. You were talking about the gap between the first album and then the release of Slowburn, because I know you guys went on hiatus.
Yes.
How did it feel releasing Slowburn after such a long time?
So funnily enough, so even though we had the 2 albums, we kind of had like an in-between era where we did release a couple of singles. We released Bad Guy, the Billie Eilish cover, of course, and then Bad Habits, which was the cover of Ed Sheeran. But unfortunately, Bring Me the Horizon came out with their cover like a couple of months afterwards that actually had Ed Sheeran in it. So that was very unlucky on our half. And then we had Chemicals and Messy that also got released. Slowburn being released in 2023, I think it was about 3 years later, was a huge relief because a lot of the music was actually written in and finished in 2021. So we were sitting on the music for a couple of years before it was released. And that was just the nature of the game when we were getting signed and everything. And for us to get our release date, there was just a few finishing things we had to do. So it was just a big relief in the end. But I can tell you, between the time where we had our hiatus in like 2017 to 2020, and then we released Bad Guy, it was great because we were actually worried that I guess people wouldn't care anymore, but we had a really good amount of attention for the new music as well. So we're relieved.
Yeah.
In that way as well, I guess. Relief for both. Relief that it was finally released for the Slowburn album, and then relief that people still cared. And because the music industry does move fast, if you're not putting stuff out there, then you can be forgotten about. So it was nice that we still had some loyal followers, as it were.
You weren't forgotten.
Yes, it was quite nice.
I do want to say the way that the cover of Bad Guy ends, I think, is definitely so fitting of the song and the lyrics and the way that it was done. I think even my wife prefers that version better than Billie Eilish's.
Yeah, so. and it really was kind of written. Obviously, it's a cover, so it was written for us, but it just the breakdown just kind of wrote itself. And interestingly, the same thing happened when we did the Bad Habits cover, the Ed Sheeran cover. We just took the bridge and we just went with what the vocals, I guess like the phrasing of what the vocals were doing already, and then we just copied it but made it heavier. So we didn't really have to change anything drastically. It was just like the idea was already there.
Yeah, I love heavier covers of poppier songs.
And sometimes it's quite like easy to do. And not like, I didn't mean it like super easy, but it seems like it's, for some reason, pop music and metal music just go well together. It's easy to make a cover.
It does, though. It does. Now, you were talking about putting weird elements like, the construction and then, that other thing. One.
Yeah.
But I also noticed that when researching you guys, that you like to give weird names to some of your working titles. Like you named something baked potato, and then there were some other random names. Is there a reason you guys just like, how do you go about choosing those names? It's most of the time random. It's just whatever we're working on at the time, and it's just what we've been talking about. And for example, Welcome to Paradise, that song has a really weird time signature. And we were just messing around with it and seeing what would happen if we like changed the time signature or put a beat here and there. And then the working title of that one was called Fuck Around and Find Out, because that's what we were doing. So it's mostly closely related to like what's going on with the song. Yeah. Have any of the songs, like the names you've given them, stuck?
So we had weird, well, no, we've had to rename all of them. None of the silly titles have made it in. I think actually Only Girl was always called Only Girl. But we changed that so it looked like OnlyFans. So like we put it together. So it was called the same thing. And then interestingly enough, the first album, I'll like forget what the actual name of the song is because I'll remember like the working title. So we have a song that it's called Heavy Lies the Crown, but in my head I remember it as Hefty because that was the working title of it because it was like a hefty riff.
Nice.
So like it's brainwashed me and I forget what the actual name of the song is.
So my favorite song by far is actually System Failure. It's gotten to the point where YouTube Music on my personalized mix that it likes to throw together, it is always the first song that plays. Could you shed some light into the writing of that song?
So System Failure, it is a little bit different than the rest of the music because the verses are a bit more spoken. Our past screamer, Janelle, she did talking for the verses. And that was intentional because I guess like the classic Conquer Divide formula is having like clean verses and then maybe a heavy screaming verse and then a singing chorus and then some kind of pretty bridge. So we were trying to switch it up a little bit. But we were wanting something like it to sound a bit more industrial. And I think when we were trying to inspire ourselves with the music, we were like listening to video game music. I think it might have been Doom, the game Doom. So we just wanted to create something new because on the album, everything is quite different. Like it is quite varied. And then it's quite nice as well because there's a lot of different there's a lot of drum effects in that song, and that's one thing that I noticed because when we do the live tracks, we have our backtracks that have all the live effects and everything. And when I was programming that, I was like, whoa, there's so many drum effects in this song that you don't particularly notice until you like hear the stems separately. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to write actually, that one. But I actually do remember the chorus. Usually before we go record in the studio, we have all the vocals pretty much written because you don't want to write in the studio when you have a recording session because it's kind of a waste of time. So that was the only one where we wrote it in the studio. And for some reason it took forever. And we were all sitting there trying to figure something out, but it ended up being a pretty good one in the end.
Yeah, and another one of my favorites is Paralyzed for a different reason. It struck a chord with me as I'm self-realizing over the last few months. I'm like in some sort of midlife crisis mode here. And I was like, oh, wow, this song fits my midlife crisis perfectly. Have you found people gravitating towards certain songs and maybe telling the band like, hey, this song is helping me get through X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, I think Paralyzed is quite a relatable song. We definitely hear that more in the songs that were written from like a personal experience. A lot of our first album, the majority of the like lyrical content was more about, I guess, you hurt me and that pissed me off. So, I mean, like I'm mad at you, and it was very just about like being angry at people. But this time, I guess we wrote a little bit more about like mental illness, and we even have like domestic violence and like more serious topics. And then even like Welcome to Paradise is about touches on like climate change and system failure, is like political. So we're a little bit more serious on this album. But yeah, we do hear a lot. But I think on the album, Paralyzed, Pressure, and Wide Awake are songs that people tend to relate to quite a lot. And this kind of just describes a personal experience,
Yeah. Paralyzed and Pressure are my favorite on that album.
Yeah, I'm excited because we're doing a tour with 10 Years, and they're a rock band, of course. So we're doing a more rock set, and we'll have Pressure on that set as well when we play that tour. So I'm excited for that. It's a fun one to play.
Yeah, you guys are going to be coming to Wisconsin twice, I believe.
Yeah, I think we're hitting it. It's the first date of our headline show tour, which is exciting as well because we're playing like an hour set, which we actually haven't done before. In all of the time that we've been a band, we've never played I think our longest set has been like 50 minutes, so it's going to be a long one. And Sam's writing a drum solo and stuff, which is fun stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, you guys really excited about headlining for the first time?
Yeah, we are. It's a little bit financially nerve-wracking because we haven't done it before, we don't know what the outcome is going to be, but it's like a necessity. We need to basically have on paper how many people we can bring into a show. So
right.
We're excited, but just a little bit nervous, but I'm sure it'll be okay.
I was gonna say, I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah. Yeah, because we have played some shows in the past, of course, just being in a band where it has been very, very, very small audiences. And music doesn't pay like it used to. So
right.
We're hoping it works out fine.
And I want to say, I was going to say, thank you so much for actually making a stop in Syracuse in September.
You're welcome.
A lot of bands skip right over us. So I guess I'll be there.
Yeah.
The song and dance. That venue's only been open for a year, so you're getting like a brand new
the floor shouldn't be too sticky then, I guess.
I hope not. They're doing their 1-year anniversary of being open in a couple days. So yeah.
Cool. Have you been there before?
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
We don't know then. We don't know if it's good or not yet then.
I'll check. I am gonna go to the tour, well, not the tour, but the show that they're doing to celebrate 1 year is one of those like Warped Tour cover band kind of people. So I'm gonna go check them out.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time.
Yeah, and it's like a fan voted set, so you get to tell them what songs you want, and then they'll play them.
Oh, that is fun.
So I'm gonna go check it out. So maybe I'll report back to you if it's a good venue.
Yeah. Or just like you'll email us, danger.
No, I've heard good things. I've heard good things.
No, yeah, I'm sure it's great. Sure it's great.
I'm not going to talk you out of coming to Syracuse because nobody comes here. It's so hard to get bands to come right through here because then you got Buffalo and Albany, and they're bigger, so people tend to skip right over Syracuse.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and come to the Madison show, but it's on a Tuesday, and I work.
Yeah. Yes.
Otherwise, I know that your show with 10 years is on a Saturday, I believe. So I'm definitely probably going to be coming to that one.
Yeah, and I get it. And if we weren't on the road and schedules weren't so messed up, then I wouldn't want to come out on a Tuesday if I was working either.
Right.
But all the days blend together. All the days feel like Friday and Saturday nights when you're on tour.
But we'll see. It depends if I can talk my husband into going on a Tuesday.
And we'd probably be playing a little bit later as well, so you might have time unless you work in the evenings. But I assume we'll be starting around 9 o'clock if we're headlining, but who knows? We haven't yet to receive the day sheets yet.
Yeah, to him it's more having to get up the next day.
Yes.
The next morning, because we both work morning shifts. So we can go out at night, but it's getting up the next day and not being like dead at work.
Yes, I understand.
But I'm going to try because I have to meet everyone we interview. So I have to make it out.
And then you have me over here telling her every time she says, I'm not going to go out, it's in the middle of the weekday. I'm like, just suck it up.
Well, I guess it's harder as you get older as well. It's like harder to stand for that long as well. So and so yeah, I feel it.
And I always tell Chris, I'm like, if only I still drank caffeine, it would be a different story every morning.
Yeah.
But I gave up caffeine, so
ouch. You're like raw dog. You're raw dogging it then.
Yep. Raw dogging it. So how has it felt hearing various songs have been nominated for awards?
Feels good. Feels good. Yeah. Yeah. So what songs? What awards? I don't know.
They
That
were
feels
all in the
good.
past. They were all in the
Oh,
past. Yeah.
I was about to say. So, if you're thinking, I think What's Left Inside is that one. Good
Was it Chris?
question.
I can't remember.
He doesn't
That's
remember.
okay. It's okay. I can't remember either, but it's a good feeling.
I mean, how can it not be a good feeling? I mean, you were
Yeah.
nominated for awards.
Not
everyone gets nominated.
That's
Stuff
true.
like that.
I don't think we got it, because then I think I would know. Unless you can do a little insert now. Actually, they did get something.
He's Googling right now.
Yeah, Google it, please.
So according to Wikipedia, which is never wrong, okay? At War was nominated for Best Song in 2015.
Oh, that's why. Okay, yeah. I get it now, yeah.
The Bad Guy cover was nominated as Big Uns of the Year.
Yes, yeah.
By Octane.
So like, like the top on like websites and stuff.
Yeah. And then Paralyzed was nominated for Best Metal Song of 22 by Metal Hammer.
Yeah. I remember this now, because I do remember sharing this on my Facebook. But I do not remember At War. That was too long ago for me now. But yes, yeah. But it does, it feels good. Especially when it's those awards where people vote, or like fans vote on it, because that's nice to see like the fans, or the followers posting it, being like, vote for Conquer Divide, they deserve it. I feel like that's the best feeling, is seeing people like post about it, and they're like, they care enough to post about it and care enough to like see that our music wins something. So it's very sweet. It's very nice.
Yeah, definitely.
Are there any songs, like while you're performing them live, that you tend to just lose yourself in the performance?
Welcome to Paradise is a really fun one, and actually System Failure as well. We just added System Failure to the set list in February, but it's been really fun playing that one. That one's a really good one, and it's actually there's a lot of like repetition in it for me, guitar wise, so I can kind of turn my brain off a little bit more, I guess, and not have to concentrate so much. And then any of the older songs like Nightmares or Eyes Wide Shut, anything from the first album is just brainwashed in my playing, so I don't have to think about it so much anymore. And then whenever like I do make a mistake, then I'm suddenly like, whoa, something's going on here. Why did I mess that up? It's like, I should have known that. I should have known that. It's been 10 years, but yeah.
That's okay. It happens.
Yeah, it's true. No one's perfect. I'm definitely not a perfect player. So, and I've never claimed to be, because that would be a dangerous path to go down.
Yep. Chris and I aren't perfect. That's for sure.
No. By far not perfect. As a matter of fact, speaking of not perfect, Jess, on our list, you asked your next question already, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You snuck it in there. Okay, see, we're not perfect at all.
Yeah.
So
you guys got a good system though.
We try.
Yeah.
We're a little over a year in. And actually, this is our first interview in almost 2 months. We took some time off. We had so many episodes stacked that we're like, I don't want to tell people it's going to be 2.5 months before the episode.
You gotta get all the go through some editing.
Yeah, so I'm like, we're a little too far in advance now. Let's chill for a little bit.
Well, and we don't want people to come on and then they talk about stuff that's like super irrelevant by the time the interview comes out.
Yeah, that's true.
With that being said, are there any crazy stories from the road you'd like to share with us?
We love stories.
So back in like our earlier tours, it was more acceptable for people to pull pranks on each other, I guess, at the very end of the tour. Maybe not so much on the tours that we've been in recently, but there's this like, so who was it? Oh yeah, I remember Capture the Crown when we played our last set with them. While we were on stage, they took our bench out of our van and put it on top of our van. So that was kind of crazy. And then we came out and we were like, what the heck? And actually we couldn't get it back in. So then we had no bench. So, and then what did we do to them? I think it was something with like raw chicken or something. Like we put raw chicken on the bass drummer and it was just like bouncing around, just like awful things.
Awful
And
things.
yeah, just awful things. And I think I remember someone putting, I can't remember what band it was, but that like glitter was involved. I remember there was glitter everywhere, which is terrible. I remember there was glitter in all of like my pedals and stuff. That was awful. What else? Oh, in 2015, I got pulled over and by a cop and they pulled their gun on me because it was my first time being over here in the States and I didn't realize you weren't supposed to get out of the van if you're getting pulled over. So I got out.
Oops.
So that was a big oops. But then they laughed because I gave them my UK driver's license and then it was all happy and fine. Like they didn't just pull a gun on me. So, but that was a bizarre experience. But most of like recently all the tour experiences have been great. So
yeah, normally we get like people on here and we ask them that question. They're like, do you want van breakdown stories? Because we got
we've got
lots
a lot
of
of
those.
Yeah, we've got a lot of those. We broke down at like a gas station. I think it was on the All Stars tour in Arizona. And this random guy like came to help us, and then we ended up going to his house, which is like big. He was like really nice, and it worked out fine in the end. But it was like big stranger danger. And our van was like in his front yard, and he like actually took out everything. He like took out the engine, and then we were stuck there for like 2 days, and we were just sitting there with like his wife and kids in his living room. It was so there's that.
Well, at least he wasn't a serial killer.
No, but he could have been. And
He
we were
could have
just like,
been.
okay, yes. So that was interesting. And it's funny because we were there for 2 days, but I don't really remember much of it. So that's probably not a good sign, is it? But he did fix it, I guess. He fixed it. We
Well,
got
that's
back
good.
on the road, but the band didn't last for that much longer. So who knows?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
it
Oh,
happens.
well, yeah, shit happens. I wouldn't advise anyone to do that, to go to a stranger's house and have them destroy your transportation. But he was very sweet, actually. But yeah, probably not very wise. I listen to too many like crime podcasts now to do something like that again.
So what, to pivot a little bit, what has been your personal favorite piece of Conquer Divide merch that has been created?
I really like, there's a hat that we have that has like it's kind of like a death metal logo on it. So like you can't really read the word Conquer Divide, but it makes us look like we're a really, really heavy band. And then my favorite t-shirt we've ever done is a recent design that has like, it's a New Heaven t-shirt, and it has the words "I need a new heaven, for heaven's sake" on the back, but it's like a burning coffin, and it's like cartoon style, which is really cool. And actually I like it so much that I want us to have it as a patch. So and I think we first released it online around not Christmas. It was a Halloween thing. Halloween, that makes more sense because it's a coffin. So
Yeah.
But now we're doing it as a tour t-shirt, and I think it's so sick. So yeah, patches soon as well.
Talking more about tours, you guys were more recently in the UK. How was that experience?
It was really good for me because we hadn't been to the UK before, and I grew up in the UK till I was 21. So it was nice to finally play there. And the drives are nice because they were quite short. The whole because we did Europe before doing the UK as well. It was a good experience, you know. But maybe not in the UK, but you're in Europe, it's hard to like get food late at night, which as a musician is tricky because you don't have time to eat. So we'd get back on the road at like 1 a.m. and there wouldn't be anything open. And the same with like bathrooms and stuff. So that's a little bit more challenging, but the catering is really good over there for bands. So that's good as well.
At least the
so
catering
get
is
lunch.
good.
Yeah, so we can like get lunch, but then if you want like a late night snack or something, it's like impossible.
I guess I've never thought about that, like how
We
Europe would be different.
We love truck stops here, and they're
Yeah,
open
I mean,
24
they don't have
hours.
truck stops in Europe that I know of. I don't know. I've never been overseas ever, so.
Yeah, there wasn't really much around, or you just pull up and it would just be closed, you know, so it's hard when you have like 8 people in a van that need like the bathroom and stuff, you know, you're desperately, or they're hungry, desperately trying to find something. But we saw some beautiful things and it was a great experience, you know. We're going back in January with New Year's Day, so that's gonna be good as well.
Yeah.
And it was nice because we actually had a bed for everybody in the van that we rented. So usually in the van in the USA that we have only has 4 bunks, and then one person has to sleep on a bench. So, but some people prefer the bench.
So you
I
got
don't
an
though.
extra
I'm too
large
tall.
van for this next tour.
Yeah, the ones in Europe, they have like the more the Mercedes Sprinter style. So instead of just having like 2 bunks, you can actually stack 3.
Yeah.
We'd love to have something like a Mercedes Sprinter, but we can't quite afford it right now. So maybe eventually, that'd be nice. Just so everyone can have a bed, you know, because usually we don't have even enough time to stop at a hotel because we have to drive to the next venue. So there isn't time to stop for sleep. You have to sleep while the van's moving. Not the driver, of course, but
the
driver stays awake. Yeah. The driver tries to stay awake.
So to backtrack a little bit, I asked the craziest thing you've seen on the road. What's the craziest thing you've seen go down while you were on stage?
I feel like nothing super crazy has happened. We love it like when there's crowd surfers because that doesn't happen super often. So whenever we see a crowd surfer, we're like, ah, but yeah, nothing super. Unfortunately, I don't have a story for that. Nothing super crazy. It's great when we see crowd surfers, you know, that's fun. But no, I don't have any stories for that, I'm afraid.
That's
I need to play more shows.
That's it, Chris. You got to take Rye to the show in Buffalo.
I do so.
And make him
in Buffalo.
Crowd
it's in
surf.
Syracuse.
Or Syracuse. Make him crowd surf. Because he's young enough, then he won't get hurt.
I'll do something that I'll remember forever.
But nothing,
no pressure.
Nothing like
nothing disturbing.
Do like Jeremy from A Day to Remember tries to get a crowd surfer surf on a crowd surfer, like stand up on a crowd surfer. Nothing crazy like that.
Nope. Oh, no, not yet.
All right. I'll get the crew to go crazy in Syracuse, I guess. We'll give you some stories.
Yes.
You never know.
Yeah, that means that if I haven't had anything crazy happen yet, then something is good. There's room for something to happen. So, and it'll be even better. Because if I'd seen too many crazy things, then I guess I wouldn't really care. I'd be like, oh, that's nothing.
Right. I've seen it all.
The bar is low because I haven't really seen anything that crazy. I mean, I think like a couple of people have gotten hurt and we'd have to like tell like security, like, hey, can you check on that person? But nothing crazy.
Let me ask this question. It's kind of going to pivot off of that. At a show, at least here in like, for some reason, New York, I don't know if it's like this in other places, people like to come dressed up in costumes. Like I just went and saw A Day to Remember and some guy was dressed up in a shark onesie. I've seen people dress up as like bears and all this other stuff. Has anyone ever done that at a show?
So when we were on tour with Attack, people would like come dressed as like lobsters and crabs because they're like crab koi, you know? But no one's come dressed. Oh, actually, I do tell a lie. One of our listeners came like dressed as a banana, but I don't really get the reference. I don't think there's a reference there. I think he just wanted to.
He wanted to get noticed.
Yeah. So I do remember that, and it's funny, you know, and it's cute. But I don't think there's like a relevance to our music.
Yeah,
with bananas.
I know people dress up in Scooby-Doo costumes for Simple Plan shows because they have that Scooby-Doo cover and they have them come up on stage during that time. If you dress up, they let you on stage. So, I mean, that's an incentive to dress up, but I don't think they would do it. They would do it if they couldn't get on stage.
And you know what? We've actually been talking about this, or I guess something similar as a band, because we don't really have like a image with our bands like that, you know, like we don't have, like we've been trying to make more things like pins and badges, and it's like, well, we don't really have anything like a symbol that's, we have like a double slash symbol, but we don't have anything like significant that is a
logo.
I don't know. Yeah, like a logo, like branding. We're just us. So we've been thinking about it. Yeah.
Maybe you guys will think of one eventually, you know, it'll come.
Yeah. And we've been like thinking like, oh, Slowburn, should we do something with like a fire, like emoji or something? But I don't know. We had like a key for our first album, and then we have the lock on the girl of the cover of our second album. But yeah, we don't really have anything that people, I guess, like our listeners grasp onto, you know, apart from like our stupidity online.
Did you do that on purpose, the lock on the second album because of the key on the first?
Yeah. Yeah, and we were gonna do we've done a little bit of jewelry with that together that we sometimes sell at shows, but yeah, that was intentional. We were trying to make up something where the key would like open the lock, but that's quite complicated to do.
Yeah. Definitely. So I noticed on social media that you guys are looking for a new bassist and a slash screamer.
Yes.
What's the reasoning behind that as the current one leaving the band?
Oh, so Janelle left back in January, just because she wants to pursue a different project, and she's been in the band. Well, she was in the band for 10 years, like myself, and she was just ready for something new. And then we did have a fill-in for our European shows, but it was just for those tours. So now we're looking for somebody permanent. Preferably a girl, of course, but we've opened it up to anybody can audition right now.
Even a dog?
If they can play bass and scream, then sure. As long as they could do it, yeah.
That'd be pretty great. That'd be a really talented dog.
Yes. Be talented than most people.
It would be a little strange if you guys did end up with a male bassist and screamer, though, since you have been an all-fronted girl rock band for so long. Yeah,
and that is how we want to keep it. But it's just harder to find. Well, it's harder to find female musicians, like rock and metal musicians anyway, just because there's less of us than guys still. But then people that are willing to tour and stuff and like give up whatever home life they have, that's another element. So, but we're still looking, and hopefully by the time this podcast comes out, maybe we'll find someone.
Right.
We're still quite early in the audition
I'll keep my fingers crossed for you that you can find a girl, just because you want to keep that dynamic going.
Oh,
I think Jess froze.
Oh, there you go.
There she is.
Oh, there you go.
I am froze.
There you go, yeah. I was like, uh-oh, is this my laptop? But yeah, we're hoping. And then if we haven't, then I guess I'm gonna use this. We're looking for a bassist and a screamer. If you're a girl, send an audition to our Instagram, Conquer Divide, please.
So if you had to describe Conquer Divide to a random grandma on the street, how would you describe Conquer Divide to her?
So we're an all-girl rock band with screaming, which sounds like people are in pain. But I guess that's the point. But with a little bit of pop sprinkled on top.
Little pop sprinkled on top, Grandma.
Yes, exactly. To make it bearable for your ears if you don't like screaming.
This is true. At least Grandma might like the non-screaming portion, but she won't like the screaming portion unless she's super into rock.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we can't be ageist and just assume that old people don't like screaming. I guess we could, I don't know. Is it ageist? I don't know.
It's
It's
a
just, I
matter of
think,
time before grandma's thrown down in the pit. I mean,
There was
yeah,
that
that's
video
true.
going around I saw on Instagram. It was like a grandma with her walker at a concert outside
What?
in
That's
the
so
pit.
sick. I love that. I
I
love
don't
that.
think my mom would ever be caught dead in a pit or at a rock concert, honestly.
Well, eventually, in a few decades, there's going to be a bunch of people with like full body tattoos everywhere. Old people,
This
you
is
know.
true. Wrinkly
So,
tattoos.
there's going to be like wrinkly emo nights or something. Safe,
I love it.
safe for
You better brand
seniors.
that now.
Yeah, safe for seniors. It's slightly quieter and earlier. It's like a matinee emo night.
Hey, you might be onto something someday.
Yeah.
Better coin that idea.
Yeah.
And then for the all important question, what is your favorite dinosaur?
Ugh, I guess a T-Rex because the arms are stupid. It's just kind of funny, isn't it?
Got a big head and little arms.
Or I guess my favorite dinosaur is probably Littlefoot from The Land Before Time.
Littlefoot. Yep, he's
Yeah.
technically a brontosaurus in that, but
Yes.
we've learned that apparently brontosaurus are not a real dinosaur.
Oh, really?
Supposedly.
No, they were a mixture of two different dinosaurs that just so happened to be right next to each other, and
When they found the fossils.
What?
they messed it up because there was only one ever brontosaurus fossil ever found. And then they realized that it was two different dinosaurs and the vertebrae didn't fit together correctly.
The
Oh, wow.
archaeologists, they screwed up.
Sheesh. They
So I
made a
know our
whole
childhood with
movies about
Littlefoot.
that.
The
I
childhood
know.
with Littlefoot is all a lie.
And it's still a good movie. I still believe in it.
It's still a great movie. Great series of movies.
Sure, I mean, we have giraffes, so surely there was something back then that had a stupidly long neck. Surely.
Well, that was our last regular question, but we did ask your fans if they had any questions, and we had 4 fan questions to ask.
Okay. Lay it on me.
I don't know how to say some of these names sometimes, but
that's okay.
Anxiety Shish Sis HTX. I don't know. They said, "Are you going to play At War again live?"
So we might play it. We are not planning on playing it at our next headline show. So we don't have it on any of our sets coming up. But I feel like we're more likely to play that as like an acoustic rendition because sometimes Kia and I do little acoustic sets at places. So I feel like that would work. But I'll never say never. That's not likely. We played it for many years, you know. Right. But I guess if enough people complain, then maybe we will play again.
You can ask the next one, Chris.
All right, this one is from, wow, that's a lot of 8s. Sniz888. Favorite artists from other music genres?
So I really like Jimi Hendrix. So just because I'm a guitarist, I love his music and also Stevie Ray Vaughan, but they're not super similar, but quite similar. And then I have been listening to, I listen to a lot of Megan Thee Stallion, and I do like Sabrina Carpenter right now as well. I'm a sucker for good pop music, especially if there's some good guitar underneath, and her songs seems to always have nice funky guitar underneath, which I like.
We should have asked earlier too. I mean, how long have you been playing guitar?
Like 20 years now, so I'm not as good
now.
as what I should be. Yeah. I started when I was, I guess longer than that. I got my first guitar when I was 6. It was like a classical guitar, and I switched to electric when I was 9, and I'm 31 now. So yeah, I should be a lot better than I am.
Hey, don't put yourself down. You're a great guitarist.
Well, I've been playing, it's consistency, you know. I probably didn't take it seriously until I was like 15, but I was quite lucky that even though I was having lessons and I maybe wasn't practicing a lot in between, my parents still made me go. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. So the next fan question comes from Nolan Collins _S. What are the pros and cons of being in an all-girl band?
Pros is that you stand out, and some people literally just prefer the sound of the female voice. So that's pretty good. Cons, like we talked about earlier, is sometimes people don't take you seriously, or people don't like you because you have a female voice in the band. Yeah. And another con is sometimes when you turn up to a venue, people assume that you're the merch person and not part of the band. So
can't assume anything. Come on now.
No, yeah. So that's always quite fun. There's always a story that we tell to each other. There's a show that we were playing back in the day, and the promoter was like, thought we were just, and I don't mean just the merch girls, because I didn't mean it like that, because doing merch is actually very hard and exhausting. But he thought we were the merch girls and not the part of the band, and then he was talking to us beforehand, and we were just kind of going along with it. And then after we played, he was like mind blown. Like and then we're like, "What? You're the promoter? Like, how do you not do this? Like, you put on the show."
Yeah. I remember back in the day when I used to help out some local bands, and I'd merch for them at their shows sometimes. It is a lot of work.
Yeah, it is a lot of work, and those boxes of t-shirts are heavy. I would much rather load in musical gear than load in merch and set up merch.
Yeah.
But we do our own merch still, because we don't have space in our van to bring a merch person. So
they'd have to ride in the trailer behind if they can.
Yeah, exactly. Or we would have to. So I guess. And then another con, I guess, is people can be creepy, but I guess that's just the female experience already. You don't have to be in a band to experience that.
It's true. It's true.
And the last fan question comes from Mr. Parmy.
I know him.
Thoughts on the Conquer Debussy meme page?
I love it. I think it's fantastic. And I think the guy who runs it is an absolute genius.
It must be Mr. Parmy who runs it. I kind of figured that when that question came through. I'm like, I bet he runs this, and he started this, and he just wants to get some feedback.
He's great. I actually emailed him today. He's an artist, and he's actually helping us with some of our artwork for we're doing some VIP upgrades for our headliner, and he's doing the art for like the laminates for it. And yeah, he's great.
Well, that's great. Got he's
really
nice
talented.
Artist. He's a talented artist and has your meme page.
And it's so funny. I can't like think of an example right now, but things will happen and we'll like post a video and he'll like instantly make a meme about it and like post it the same day on the page. And we're like, whoa, he's quick.
Yeah. That's kind of reminds me actually of like, I'm like Story of the Year is my favorite band, and Chris is probably going to give me crap for mentioning this, but they have a Discord as well. And so some of the guys from the Discord actually started a SOTY Discord Instagram page, and they do like funny things all the time. Like they'll have pictures of some of the band members making weird faces on stage, and then like crop it into and Photoshop it into something funnier. Yeah, it can be very amusing. It's fun.
It's fun. We have a Discord as well, and like people make emojis like out of our faces. So like we have all these emojis in the Conquer Divide Discord of like my face or Kia's face, and they're all quite funny actually. Most of the time. Sometimes I'm like, oh God. But yeah, no, the most of the time. But if I didn't want it to be made into an emoji, I just shouldn't have made the face. That's my problem, really.
Right?
It's my fault.
It's your fault. It's on the internet. Blaming. They can steal your face and do what they want with it.
Exactly. So it's my own damn fault.
Well, that was the last fan question we had, and we didn't have any more questions. Is there anything else you'd want to add before we sign off or stop recording?
No, just thank you for having me. And, you know, we're doing some headline shows. So if any of your podcast listeners want to check us out, you can find all the info at our website, conquerdivideofficial.com. And if we're coming to a city near you, we'd love it if you would give us a chance and check out our music.